Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has amended Labor's proposed hate speech laws to remove racial vilification proceedings following criticism from the Greens and Coalition. Kira Hain joins us now live. Kira, what do we know about these changes?
Well, Jack, it's been a big day for politics in Canberra on this Saturday. Earlier this morning, we heard from the Greens, who officially announced for the first time publicly that they would not support the Labor government's proposed hate speech laws as they stood. They said that they were interested in supporting the gun reform aspect of that legislation, but they criticised the rest of those reforms as potentially impacting free speech and only protecting one religion. Now, just in the last hour, we've heard from the Prime Minister, who's made two really key announcements, the first of which is removing the provision around racial vilification from these proposed hate speech reforms. These, of course, come after the Bondi Beach terrorist attack late last year. This was the legislative response by the federal government. And that provision that he's removed, it was proposed by Jewish peak bodies who wanted to see racist hate speech criminalised, but that was criticised by the Coalition and the Greens as potentially impacting free speech. Now the Prime Minister announcing he will remove it.
We will only proceed with measures that have the support of the Parliament. A coalition need to come up with what their position is, because at the moment they're defined by what they're against, but it's not clear what they're for.
Now, the second significant announcement made by the Prime Minister during this press conference relates to gun reform. So earlier this morning, when the Greens stood up for a press conference, they proposed to the Prime Minister that he separate that gun reform legislation from the rest of that hate speech proposal to be its own bill introduced to Parliament that they would then support in full. That's what the Prime Minister has done. So that $1 billion national gun buyback scheme will be introduced to Parliament on Tuesday when it returns early from break as a standalone bill that the Greens are set to support.
It is important to deal with customs updates, but also to have the national gun buyback scheme along the model that was implemented after the Port Arthur massacre under John Howard.
So that hate speech bill now, what will that look like? So it will look at proposing to ban hate groups and giving the government power to reject and block visas. So that's what will be proposed on Tuesday with these new amendments proposed by the Prime Minister. Now, also on Monday, a parliamentary inquiry will hand down its recommendations into amendments that could be made to this bill. That's the federal government's last-ditch attempt to get the support of the Coalition and the Greens on this hate speech laws. But as you hear here, the Greens and the Coalition have been widely critical of this proposal.
We will not be party to a legislation which divides communities and people along religion, which can be used to shut down political discourse and the right to protest, and which scapegoats migrants.
We did not see this bill until they announced to the media the draft of it. Anti-Semitism is extreme Islamic behaviour in this country is unacceptable. But what this legislation is doing is clamping down on free speech in ways that will inhibit and be dangerous to our community going forward. And if that's the belief you have, you can't support that.
Jack, the federal government now hoping these changes will be enough to pass through these bills through Parliament on Tuesday.
Certainly some big changes there. Kira Hain, thanks for keeping us up to date.